you, buddy. It's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with some post-SummerSlam thoughts. Well, mostly post-SummerSlam thoughts. We're going to get into a couple of quick little news bits that I didn't quite get to do before SummerSlam, and then we're going to talk about SummerSlam, because that's what happened this weekend. First and foremost, SummerSlam was awesome. 57,000 people, depending on who you ask, depending on who you look at. I'm looking at Wikipedia, and if you're looking at stuff like that, if you're on X, I would also suggest checking out at WrestleTix. But if you're doing that kind of thing, you probably already know about WrestleTix, or else you're living under a rock. But before we get into SummerSlam, let's talk about a couple of other things. Let me try to click around my little cut and paste sources here so I don't sound like an absolute idiot. Who is it? ITR Wrestling re-aggregated an interview that happened with Jimmy Traina on Sports Illustrated Media Podcast with CM Punk, and he was asked about what we all already have an opinion about, and that was the airing of his security footage from the All In, All Out, whatever it was, with Jack Perry that they aired to get Jack Perry over. I don't know, and his quote was as follows. It's not very long, and it's kind of to the point. A lot of people are saying CM Punk's outrageous comments about the footage. All it says was, it felt really ugly, but then I was like, showing the footage isn't going to help them or hurt me, so whatever. Being the top draw in two different companies at the same time is pretty wild. Thanks, guys. And when I read the thanks, guys thing, I have to think about the Chris Jericho thanks, guys thing. He's not saying anything that isn't true. I don't, it's everything and nothing. I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to make it a point of conversation because I'm a CM Punk guy, and everything that happened with him in AEW was atrocious, in my opinion. Caveat, everything that happened to CM Punk the first time he was in WWE that led to him leaving WWE was also atrocious. So, rules for everybody, not rules for thee and not for me. He had every right to leave WWE when he left WWE, and he had every right to tell Tony Khan and the Young Schmucks to go fuck themselves. Both times, with him both times, been a fan of CM Punk both times. Both of those incidents, him telling WWE to fuck off and him telling AEW to fuck off, made me a bigger fan of CM Punk. Also, him going and trying his hand at UFC, even though everybody else thinks that that's a big joke. But it is a case of, like, what have you guys tried today type of idea. But let's look at what he said once again. It felt really ugly, but then I was like, showing the footage isn't going to help them or hurt me, so whatever. It's true. Everyone's like, oh, it made Jack Perry a more popular guy. No, Jack Perry took his marching orders from the Bucks, and he got cheers or some kind of response from Young Bucks fans that were trying to stick it to CM Punk, that wanted to see CM Punk get it stuck to him some more. And now he's, quite frankly, being rewarded for shit behavior and shit treatment of a fellow wrestler, which is fine. It's not going to hurt CM Punk because it proved that even after he left, they needed to use something with him in it to get attention on their show. For the good of people in AEW that I do still like, because there are a few. I don't know what that says to your current talent, that we needed to show video of a guy that's not even here anymore to get some attention on our shows because you guys aren't doing it. That's not great. And then at the end he says being the top draw in two different companies is pretty wild, thanks, which is a dig. Can't dress it up. It is absolutely a dig, but it's also true. He got their ratings up for that one night, and their ratings have been in the dregs ever since. Remember when they said they signed Okada, they signed Trashy Skanks, and they signed Will Ospreay? I will admit, very, very, very openly, I'm bummed that WWE didn't get Will Ospreay. I really am. No problem in saying that, no problem in admitting that, etc., etc., etc. But other than the CM Punk, hey, we might show some footage of CM Punk in something that has nothing to do with the product, nothing to do with any storyline. We're going to use his image without permission after he's left the company. I don't know where that sits legally, I'm not going to lie. But he got them some ratings for the night, and he's been getting WWE ratings. Like, you can see it. WWE ratings aren't always in the stratosphere, but hey, CM Punk's going to be on Raw next week. CM Punk is bopping over to SmackDown next week. You watch the numbers, and they tell the story, and Tony Khan and the Bucks are idiots, and I'm not I'm not sharing this for the sake of, oh my god, look at what he said, let's delve deep into this. I'm more sharing this on the realm of, oh my god, CM Punk's super controversial comments. He said it was a bit ugly. It was. The footage isn't going to help them or hurt me. Yeah, it's a thing. Now, as a representation of CM Punk being in a much better place, run by actual adults, he's been very, very open about the fact that he wants a job in NXT. He wants to help other people, which he tried to do in AEW and was never given the credit for. We see constantly people like Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, all these different people that have said, oh, he helped me with this, he helped me with that, etc. He spends a lot of time at the Performance Center, etc. And he took place or had some sort of assisting role in the WWE tryouts that took place in Cleveland leading up to Survivor Series weekend, along with Shawn Michaels, who a lot of people are saying he's either trying to get Shawn Michaels' job or Shawn Michaels is setting him up as a successor. One has a little bit more of an accusation tone to it, and the other is probably true, let's be real. CM Punk, whether you like him or not, is a lightning rod. He draws the eyes, he draws the attention, he draws the interest. And he's been everywhere. He's been to the Indies, he's been in ROH, he's been in TNA, he took a cup of coffee in AEW, he's been through the WWE system, he's been through WWE when WWE was really bad. He's got a lot of experience to draw to. Creatively, communicatively, he's got a lot to offer. Anybody that wants to listen. What is it? William Regal said, I'm always there, but I'm not going to chase people down to teach them stuff. They know I'm there. The ones that want to learn will come and learn. I can see CM Punk taking a very similar approach. Not that I'm somebody saying that I know how CM Punk thinks, but he's got to be a font of knowledge. And like the fact that you've got him and Shawn Michaels sort of working in tandem. It's Shawn Michaels' show right now, but to have somebody like CM Punk bounce, I mean, how much indie stuff did Shawn Michaels do? I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying because I don't know. I'm going to sneeze. I can feel it. Is it gone? There we go. Sorry for those of you that are listening on audio. Shawn Michaels took to X to show a picture of him and CM Punk at the tryouts and just said, a guy who really knows what it takes. Thanks for joining me at the hashtag SummerSlam tryout at CM Punk. Really, really good. So, two sides of the CM Punk story. You got one side that treated him incredibly badly even after he left, and you got one side that helped him come back in with open arms, who valued him even when he couldn't wrestle because he was injured. One side that said, hey, you've got something to offer to the next generation. Why don't you come and start doing that? It's night and day. Night and day. The other thing that happened over the course of the SummerSlam weekend, I'm not sure exactly when, Matt and Jeff Hardy met with WWE. Now, that's going to raise all the typical, it's just the Hardy Boys, they're fucking past it and whatever. Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy were quoted a couple weeks ago. I think it was on Matt's own podcast when they were talking about the NXT, the TNA crossover with NXT, and they kind of half-heartedly mentioned, they're about completionists, they're about first times, and one thing they don't have on their resume is an NXT tag team title run, which is interesting. Now, they met with WWE over the course of this weekend. Apparently, they have a very short contract with TNA, which isn't surprising. TNA's got a lot of fluidity right there. They just finished up things with Mustafa Ali, who did a great job there, and the Hardys were there over the course of SummerSlam weekend doing some recording, doing some voiceovers for different documentaries and whatnot, and there's definitely a conversation to be had there. Do I want to see the Hardy Boys in NXT? Of course I do. I want to look at that. I want to see the Hardy compound in an NXT context. I think it would be a lot of fun. Do I think they're going to go in there and do 5-star classics, 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome, brother? No, I don't. Like, they're past their peak, they're past their prime a long time ago. Their wannabes are running another company, and they had a bad time there as well. I don't know what to say about it. I would like to see it. I would like to see what happens. I would like to see at some point, I would love to see CM Punk and Jeff Hardy come face to face again, if that's a thing that we can do. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't think they would have been involved in like the WWE tryouts, anything like that, in any kind of role like I was just talking about with CM Punk. But it is something to mention. The other thing that I was going to say, and typically I would love a chance to take a shot at AEW, but we're talking about 3 talents that I really, really respect. So this one's kind of a bummer. There's not as much humor involved in this one. Basically, Britt Baker got herself suspended, and it had to do with Alicia Atu and MJF. MJF is one of my favorite, if you want to say like AEW wrestlers, even though I saw him in Destiny. Yes, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine, I can speak, I swear. Saw MJF in Destiny technically before I saw him in AEW, but he's an AEW guy. He's one of the pillars or whatever you want to say. But as it goes, the MJF and Will Ospreay had their Iron Man match a couple weeks ago. Not Iron Man, but like basically they went an hour, basically the equivalent of an Iron Man match. I think it was like 59 minutes and 58 seconds or something like that. And Britt Baker in the back, I'm not going to hash over this right now because it's not the time. AEW doesn't know how to give their women any time at all, really, realistically speaking. Even the people that like AEW, if you go over to What Culture, they do the ladies' night contest on the podcast every week. Guess the time that the one match is going to happen on the show, because we know they're only going to get one match. That's really bad. It's really, really bad. And Britt Baker, who's one of the AEW originals, was sort of saying, like, hey, how is it that these 2 guys can get an hour and we're all fighting to get on the show? And she was having this conversation. This is the bits and pieces that I've put together, so if it's not entirely correct, I genuinely apologize. This is just the impression that I have right now. But she was talking about it, she was venting about it in the ladies' locker room, like, hey, we should be getting that time, we should be getting those opportunities. Those guys those are just 2 guys, and they got an hour, and all this kind of thing, and very reasonable. Like, I'm just coming off of night 1 of the Great American Bash. Great American Bash had 4 matches, representing 2 different women's championships, and in total, within those 4 matches, they featured 14 female superstars. That would be Tony Khan's female content for like a month or 2 months or so. That's not great. WWE puts more, and I keep saying it, I keep beating it over the head because it's absolutely true. WWE puts more female wrestling on their Saudi Arabia pay-per-views than Tony Khan puts on a weekly episode of American wrestling television. And that's gross. Now, I don't want to divide talent by gender. That's not what I'm doing here. But when you're talking about, hey, this company doesn't treat their women very well, and the men are getting all of this, you can't help but make it a gender issue, or make it a conflict between the genders in that company. I hope that makes sense with what I'm trying to say here. I'm not saying the women are awesome. I'm not saying the men are assholes, or vice versa. I'm not saying the women are being bitchy and the men are just getting what they deserve. Neither one of those things are what I'm saying, but I'm saying in this particular situation, it is a, hey, how come the guys get this and we don't? With that being said, the ladies' locker room has to be not, I don't want to use safe space because that's such a fucking wokey term, but it has to be a free and open place for people that are all experiencing the same frustration to vent those frustrations. And apparently Britt Baker was venting about that in the ladies' locker room. Alicia Atu overheard it. Alicia Atu took it to MJF. MJF had a confrontation with Britt Baker, and apparently, if you believe certain people, punched the wall. Now, if you are a guy and you're going to go and rag on any female, you're probably a bit of a dickhead. But if you're raging at anybody, male or female, but specifically female in this case, and your way of getting your point across is putting a fist through a wall, you're in the wrong now. As much as I like MJF, you're in the wrong now. And I'm going to reiterate once again, I'm putting this together from bits and pieces that I've read from various dirt sheet type, no DQ type sources. I do not like talking about this story because I like MJF. I do. I've got a lot of respect for Britt Baker. And Alicia Atu, going back to the whole Destiny, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, it's fine. She used to be an announcer at Destiny. I've had the awesome, positive opportunity to speak with her on a bunch of occasions, and she's a sweetheart of a person, and I think she's very good at what she does, and I don't think she has an evil intent in her body, for as much as somebody that doesn't know her can say that. But there was a committee convened, the same type of committee that was convened when they decided to get rid of CM Punk, going back to that again, and they decided that she was going to be suspended for a couple of weeks. Now, whether that's last week and this week, or whether it's this week and next week, I don't know. They wrote it into the storyline as the Bucks suspended her because they're friends with Sasha Banks, which doesn't do much for, hey, the Bucks are dicks. It doesn't do much for, hey, these are how your bosses are treating you and portraying you on television. And it doesn't do much for the whole, Sasha Banks has walked into AEW and been handed the world. Keep in mind that when Sasha Banks left WWE and WWE spoke about it on the air, they were raked over the coals as being assholes. AEW suspends Britt Baker for real and then turns it into a storyline on TV while she's not there. How is that not the same thing? I'm just saying, I'm really sticking up for Britt. I'm not saying Britt Baker's going to leave and come to WWE or anything like that, but I'm in her corner on this. As I say, I've got no reason to talk any shit about MJF. I hope the punching the wall thing isn't true. I've got absolutely no reason to rag out on Alicia Atu. I think she's amazing, and like I say, you get a little bit biased when you've actually met somebody. She's a very nice person, so I don't think anybody is the asshole here, but there's clearly been a 3-person conflict that one person got punished for, and I don't think that's great, and that falls on AEW management, and it falls on the whoever's on the committee, because we know the last person that committee fucked with. And not gonna lie, not saying that it's gonna happen, but Britt Baker in WWE would look pretty fucking good. Just saying, she'd get more time. I think she'd get more appreciation. Now, the other side of this coin with Britt Baker is people are speculating on her relationship with Adam Cole. Adam Cole recently made a post about his recovery not going as well as he thought it would, and he's moved off to somewhere else. People are speculating that, their relationship is over and what could have led to that and whatever, and that's kind of gross too, because that's none of our business. It's really not. Yes, I love a dirt sheet as much as the next guy. Read the dirt sheet, move on. Don't go digging through people's shit more than what they've already allowed to be out there. I think Adam Cole was posting about it in the context of, hey guys, for those of you that watch my streams, I'm not going to be streaming for a bit, and this is why, type of thing. I believe that was the context. Again, please correct me down in the box if I'm wrong. I would really like to see Adam Cole back on my screen. At this point, it's beyond WWE, AEW. I just want the guy to be okay. Sounds like he's been through it more than once. If he shows back up on AEW and gets to do his thing, cool. If he comes back to WWE and gets to do his thing, cool. If he decides, hey, this is where I'm at physically and I can't wrestle anymore, I'm going to become a commentator, I'm going to become a full-time streamer, I'm just going to go home and chill out for a bit, that's cool as well. It's the way that we've had to look at the Big E situation in the past little while. It's gone beyond, hey, I hope he gets back soon, to I hope he can get to whatever he feels is the right thing to do right now. Same thing goes for Britt Baker. Now, I think she's been through a lot of, physical, away for a bunch of reasons stuff as well, but I'm not going to be the one to jump on here and be like, I do think they've screwed her a little bit. I do. You got a conflict between 3 people and one person gets suspended. That's not great. But at the same time, I hope to see her back on AEW because she helped put that division together from a worker's point of view. Equally, if she decided to go somewhere else, if she decided to go to WWE, if she decided to go to TNA, I think she would bring a pretty unique element to WWE, to NXT, to TNA as well. So, nobody's having a good time right now, it sounds like. I think suspending somebody, again, it does go back to the CM Punk thing a little bit, because at the end of the day, regardless of who else was involved, she tried to voice her frustration about what was going on in her company, and it seems like she's had her wrist slapped for it, and that's very, very, very much how the CM Punk thing started, he sat at a press conference with a bunch of muffins from Mindy's Bakery and said, you know, I'm not being treated right. These guys are fucking idiots. The people who are running this place don't know what they're doing. And from that day on, his cards were marked. I hope it's not the same thing for Britt Baker. I really do. Because unlike CM Punk, who they brought in because their show needed help, Britt Baker was one of the building blocks of that show to begin with. I would love to see her get the credit that she deserves for that before, if she decides to go somewhere else. If she decides WWE, NXT, people even now show the clip when Adam Cole was still at NXT and he was at one of the takeovers and they showed his wife in the crowd, and I wasn't familiar with Britt Baker at the time. I just thought, hey, cool, that's Adam Cole's wife. But sure, as a WWE guy, as a super bias, as a tribalist, I guess is the new term that gets kicked around now. As a WWE guy over AEW, would I love to see her show up in WWE? I think that would be great. I think you get her and Charlotte. I think you get her and Becky. I think you get her and a lot of, even like Natalya. Somebody like Natalya, somebody like a Shotzi Blackheart could have a fun match with Britt Baker, and you get her on the mic, and she's good on the mic. We've seen in the time that she's been in AEW, everybody remembers the first promo that she cut on the Jericho Cruise that came off a bit weird. She got a lot of flack for that, and then she became one of the best characters ever alongside Tony Schiavone. Much in the same way that over the course of COVID, the rivalry between Bayley and Michael Cole entertained everybody. Bayley versus Britt Baker, the role model versus the role model would be fantastic. How did I not come up with that? Britt Baker versus Tiffany Stratton would be great. Down in NXT, Britt Baker versus Roxanne Perez would be a hell of a thing. Now, would I want to see all those things? Absolutely. But it's funny because in this case, I would love to see her get the credit she deserves in AEW for what she's done to build that company, and then bring that over to WWE. And hopefully WWE doesn't make her Isaac Yankem II, because that would be really terrible. But yeah, Adam Cole, Britt Baker, Alicia to MJF. I hope everybody involved in what seems like a very messy situation gets to wherever they need to be, wherever they want to be, whatever the case may be. Now, switching over from that, and you can tell I'm not feeling the greatest, and I'm a little bit tired, so the energy, I'm trying, so you guys are bearing with me. Really do appreciate it. If you are watching this on YouTube, please go and check me out on Spotify, on iTunes, on Rumble, at Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you are listening to me in an audio platform, you want to find me on YouTube, it's just Spaz Phoenix. I'm trying to switch the name over so that they're all the same. I haven't quite gotten there yet. They're giving me a bit of a runaround on that. Because I've gone more than just YouTube, and I've gone to strictly audio with the Spotify and iTunes, and I've got a secondary video platform in the form of Rumble. The Rumble numbers are slowly starting to go up there, so if you are somebody right now, and do it on Spotify as well if you're listening to me on the go, but if you're choosing to watch me in video form, if you are enjoying the fact that I'm actually physically on video with you guys once again, because I didn't do it for quite a while, if you're somebody that watches both YouTube and Rumble, please consider going and checking me out on Rumble, because I'd like to bring that into the equation, because more and more problems are arising with YouTube. I'm not going to get into it. It's mostly political BS, and I'm not monetized, so I don't know why they care. This is what I will say. Somebody in the comment section of one of my recent videos asked me, hey, Spaz, did you get my last Super Chat? I do not have Super Chat. I've never had Super Chat. I've never been monetized. So on the off chance, if anybody has ever tried to send me anything, I haven't gotten it because I don't have a monetized account. I don't have Super Chats set up. I don't even know how that shit works. So if you've tried to send me something, please contact YouTube, because I don't want you guys to get fucked over, because that really made me feel like a dickhead. If you think you've sent me something, I've never received anything, because hopefully, if I'd received something, I would know it, and I could come out and thank you guys appropriately. Would I love to get paid on this channel someday? Of course I would. Of course I would. I've been doing this for way longer than I should mention. They should give me something. But if this is a one-off, then I hope it gets sorted. If anybody else has tried to send me something, and I haven't mentioned it or I haven't responded, it's because I literally can't do it. I do have an optional monetization thing through Spotify for podcasters that nobody's ever touched. I haven't received anything from that either, but I have never been monetized on YouTube. So if you've tried to send me what you thought was a super chat or a donation or whatever, please contact YouTube and please get your money back, because I am not monetized here whatsoever. Switching over, SummerSlam. Let's talk about it. Not going to go into really a whole lot of detail about the matches, because SummerSlam was all about the stories, was it not? Just going to go through it. All the stories were better than the matches in every single case. All the matches were great. All the matches were like, look at all these big fucking stars we have. Like I say, between 55 and 57,000 people in the Cleveland Browns Stadium. Looked absolutely massive. Triple H came out to welcome us to the show, which made all the appropriate people very, very angry. Oh my God, he's making the show all about himself. No, unlike Vince, people actually appreciate Triple H, and he knows it, and he would love to soak that up for 5 seconds or so. It's not going to kill you. You know what else isn't going to kill you? Jelly Roll. Coming out to do the anthem, coming out to do his song Liar, which was one of the themes of the night. I mean, I could give or take listening to the anthem. It's an American thing. I'm up here in Canada. I will say that, what's her name? Samantha Irving sang the American national anthem when I was at Money in the Bank, and they had some guy from Canada up to sing "Oh Canada" as well, which was fine, but Jesus Christ, Samantha Irving is just kind of good at everything, including breaking the internet with some of her recent Instagram stuff. But she is really, really good. Jelly Roll did the American National Anthem. He sang his song Liar, which went hand in hand with the opening video package, which I thought was really good. And again, with the music stuff, I know not everybody likes the music stuff. You can choose to get up, and if you're in the arena, you can get up after the anthem's done, go get yourself a beer, and guess what? If you're in your house and you don't want to listen to the concert, you can get up from your couch and you can go get yourself a beer. It's fine. The show went long. Nobody lost time out of this. First match right out of the gate, and they actually announced it on the kickoff. The 3-hour kickoff was an absolute piss take, and I smiled. I smiled the whole way. They did some interview stuff, some around the arena stuff with different announcing personalities at various places in the arena, just showing the gigantic scope of, hey, look at this big building we're about to fill, and I really like that, and I think it's really good. They announced the new guy, the new announcer that's going to be starting on Monday Night Raw. I can't think of his name, I didn't write it down, but he was introduced by Michael Cole. They got to nerd out about old wrestling for a couple of seconds, and then they went on to other things. That guy's going to be on Raw. Michael Cole's moving over to SmackDown. I don't know whether that means Corey Graves or Bad News Barrett are leaving the SmackDown team, if it's going to be a 3-man booth on SmackDown, or what the case may be. But they announced the hell, and they promoted the hell out of, they're going to be having a new commentator on Raw. SmackDown is moving to USA soon. NXT is moving to the CW soon. All these different things that are going. There was some small talk about the NXT move as well. Record-breaking number of sponsors on the show. And again, it's that whole, oh my God, I can't believe they've got ads on the barricade. I can't believe they've got ads on the ring canvas and whatever. You know, the only person that didn't want ads on the ring canvas, for those of you out there that don't like Vince was the guy that said we're not going to do ads on the ring canvas. So do you want to be in the same category as Vince, the guy that you pretend to hate so much because it gets you some good clout and some good clicks on Twitter? We're doing all kinds of other hate on Twitter that gets everybody all the good guy clicks and clout on Twitter right now. But be that as it may, it doesn't take away from anything. It's just like the little production things that they do now when you're watching Raw or SmackDown and they do previous highlights from earlier on in the night in a little lower third. They have a little credit for the commentators down at one point in the lower third. They have a little credit for the backstage announce team, which I think is really cool. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's like when they announced that they're actually going to have like referees and their proper names and whatever in the video game when you got Jessica Carr, etc., etc. Really, really cool. Really, just little nice touches. And like, I'm sorry, I know I fall back on that quite a bit. Oh, this was just nice, that was just nice. But it's nice to be nice. You know what's not nice? Dirty Dom. Dirty Dom cost Rhea Ripley her World Women's Championship against Liv Morgan. They had a hell of a match. They beat the piss out of each other. They went back and did all kinds of things with Rhea Ripley's shoulder. She either legitimately popped it or did a really weird job of making it look like it had been popped again, and basically speared the announce table to put it back in place, and then speared the turnbuckle to put it in place once again. Really, really a lot of fun. She gets herself all pissed off and all worked up, whatever. She's about to hit Liv Morgan with a chair, and Dominic Mysterio takes the chair from her, and we think, okay, there's the Dom heel turn, and then you realize, no, he's protecting her from herself. If she uses the chair, she's going to get disqualified. She's not going to get her championship back. I'm doing it for your own good. Da-da-da-da-da. Later on, Dom tries to throw it in the ring, and then, oh no, Liv Morgan managed to use the chair herself, and then on the replay you see that he actually pointed it out to Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan hits the Oblivion for the second. The Oblivion is an underrated move. I know it looks kind of messy, kind of sloppy sometimes, but that, to me, that's kind of what makes it work a lot of the time. Liv Morgan, incredibly underrated for all the typical identity and politics reasons that we've talked about before. Hell of a match, hell of a showing, hell of a return for Rhea Ripley, who in an interview before the show claims that since she had all the surgery on her shoulder and all the repair and all the rehab and whatever, she's actually lifting 5 pounds heavier than she was before the injury, which is kind of cool. If you're going to rebuild, don't just rebuild and come back better. Rhea Ripley's a machine. We know this. Rhea Ripley is the actual star of this division right now. We know this. She had everything taken away from her all at once. She had her return match stolen from her. She got her opportunity to get her belt back stolen from her, and she had her Dominic stolen from her, because after the match, not only was it, oh, she's realizing that it wasn't just a fuck up, that it was intentional, that this was a plan all along, that he's like left her in the dirt type of thing. When he goes and picks her up in his arms, and then like Christian and Trish Stratus, they make out overly grossly on the rampway, and Rhea Ripley does this really cool thing. She's done it before. She did it in the Mae Young Classic, and she did it in the early days of NXT UK as well. She has this way of looking really pissed, really upset, and then really pissed that she's letting herself be really upset. Like, it's this everything happening all at once. Her brain kind of broke for a second moment, because she's not going to show heartbreak, she's not going to show weakness, but she knows that she looks upset. So while she's already pissed off, she's upset, and she's pissed off about being upset as well, because she doesn't want to give that to them. I think it was played off fantastically. A lot of people were like, oh, she looked really goofy because she had lipstick on her teeth. She just had a match. These are really weird things to zero in on. Really, really weird things to zero in on. Obviously, in the back, you've got Damian Priest tearing up everything. Because you do get the idea, because they say, what is it, like the Chaos Twins, or the Terror Twins, or whatever, that he called himself and Rhea Ripley. You gotta believe they're really good friends in real life, because the chemistry just the two of them have it's the whole Judgment Day chemistry narrowed down to 2 people. He was livid. He's got like the legitimate, like, overprotective older brother. He's about to deck JD. He's about to deck Finn. He's about to deck Carlito. Carlito rolls his eyes and kind of like fucks off, which is hilarious. JD and Finn say that they're going to find, hey, you got your match coming up later up tonight, big man. You focus on what you got to do. We'll find Dom, etc. And obviously, Finn comes back later on in the evening, says, we haven't found Dom. Don't worry yourself about it. You got to focus. I know you want to do it yourself, but if you need me, give me the high sign, give me a call, and I will be there. And they basically apologize to themselves, too, or to each other, rather, because they both blew up at each other, and Finn's had problems with Damian, and Damian's had problems with Finn, as far as the, fuck off, leave me alone, I want to do the title shot on my own type of thing. So they make up, and everything's good, and they've suffered this big blow with Dominic, like, fucking over Rhea Ripley, but we're gonna come together as what's left of the Judgment Day family, right? Right. No, we're not. Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn has the least newsworthy victory, because you knew it had to happen this time around. Braun Breaker Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn. Braun Breaker started off the match by spearing the post. A lot of people are pointing out, and I guess it's kind of lame, every match had somebody running into the post at some point, and it was done to the point of being a bit of a piss take. I will give people that criticism. At the same time, I don't care, like, in the slightest. Braun Breaker is your new Intercontinental Champion. Sami Zayn can go off and do other things. Sami Zayn will probably be involved in the Bloodline stuff that we're going to talk about later on. I said it in the preview pod with Jake, and huge shout out to Jake for doing back-to-back pods with me last week, not only previewing this show, but previewing the Great American Bash Night 2 as well. That's still available in your feed. You got to go back 2 pods now to see that. Big shout out to Jake. Go show him some love on at Countdown Ended on X. And he did a live watch along for SummerSlam, which I was able to catch some of because my internet was being stupid. But very, very cool to see him doing his own solo stuff again, considering how much he helps me here on this channel sound like I know what I am talking about. But we talked on the preview about if Braun Breaker wins the Intercontinental Championship that has been seen as the workhorse championship for so long now, like the Sami Zayns to the Bret Harts to the Shawn Michaelses to the Triple H when he held it, and all the, this is the real wrestling championship. I think they have an opportunity right now to make this into the brawling machine, like, scrap fight type title for a little bit, because if you get like a Braun Breaker and an Ivar and an Otis and a Bronson Reed and even a Braun Strowman, all these big guys involved in that title mix, you could give the Intercontinental Championship a different identity, and who you choose to use to give it that new identity is really, really important. Braun Breaker could answer, like, say in a year or so, could answer a challenge from a Obafemi if they decided to call up Obafemi from NXT, because he's basically the wrecking machine on Raw, while Obafemi is the wrecking machine on NXT right now. What I will say about this match is afterwards, even though Braun Breaker's the dickhead, he's the heel and whatever, they allowed him on the post-show to talk about how much it means to be the Intercontinental Championship, to talk about how much Sami Zayn has helped him on this run towards the title. They got to show footage of the Legends box in the Cleveland Browns arena, which was people like Kevin Nash and the Steiners and DDP and their reaction to Braun winning the title, which I thought was really good. So they took the kayfabe hat off to let Braun Breaker have his feel-good first title moment. And you could do that bad and you can do it well. I thought they did it really well. They separated it enough from the actual win, from the actual match itself, that I thought it was really nice, really effective, and not anything that's going to help the story or hurt the storyline going forward. The next match, I mean, the post-kayfabe stuff is the more interesting. Like I say again, just the nice thing that we got out of this rather than the match itself, because I, in my own house, in my own time, in my own watching experience, got caught up with some family stuff at the end of this match. So for the second pay-per-view in a row, I've missed the Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker Intercontinental Championship match. But that's fine. That's just a me thing. LA Knight beat Logan Paul for the U.S. Championship. KSI came out with Logan Paul, and I don't have much to say about this match, because we all know why this result happened. It was dictated from outside WWE. It was dictated by public opinion, and I think it's kind of bullshit, and we're going to move on. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth Rollins as the referee was everything I wanted it to be. I'm bummed it wasn't in the main event. CM Punk coming out to wrestle again. Just that. Simply, I don't know what else I was going to tack on to the end of that sentence, but just CM Punk coming out for a one-on-one match in a stadium audience, in a stadium-sized event in front of a crowd that he deserves, not half of an arena like we're used to be. He had a great match with MJF in that dog collar match, but it wasn't in front of a crowd this size. The match itself was great. Everybody was saying, "Oh, he's fucking winded." Da 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 da. Fuck off! You've never done it. I don't know what to say. Him and Drew killed each other. It never felt like okay, you grab a wrist lock, now I'll grab a headlock, and everything's all fine. Seth Rollins was out in his semi-see-through referee shirt and his, like, bedazzled Hardy Boys jeans. I thought it was really great. The way that he kind of fucked with both of them, like he let them brawl outside the ring, but when somebody decided to use a chair, that was too much. They definitely mocked up the Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Bret Hart SummerSlam moment where there was almost the accidental chair shot. They brought out the bracelet, and CM Punk freaked out about the bracelet. Seth Rollins, being the referee, had to pick it up off the ring canvas to get it clear of the ring. CM Punk mistook that as now Seth Rollins is mistaking him and whatnot and whatever. And things came to a boiling point. We finally had CM Punk hit the go to sleep on Seth Rollins, which, sent Seth Rollins flying, let's be real for a second. But it meant the referee wasn't looking when he got the low blow, when he got the Claymore, and when Seth Rollins sort of reluctantly, but not really reluctantly, came over for the pin. Drew McIntyre got to gloat about the win, which is fine, out there in a vest and no shirt outside while they were doing the post-show and all that kind of thing. As good as Drew is, I think there will be a definite, okay, Drew's had his pound of flesh, now he's going to go off to something else. The story now has to be Seth and Punk, I think. Because Seth and Punk was what we were teasing for WrestleMania. I took a detour and I said I wanted to see Punk and Cody. Cody's on SmackDown now. Can't do that. But I think they turn a page here. I think something else comes up where Drew McIntyre thinks it's done. Now, I know after the match was all said and done, he picked up the bracelet. He made a big deal of still having the bracelet, and he kissed the bracelet and over Punk's fallen body and all that kind of thing, where you get this graphic over here. I'm still working on the graphic stuff of CM Punk being more pissed off at Seth Rollins. I agree with a lot of people. It's kind of gross that it was in his pants, and then he wore it, and then Seth wore it, and then CM Punk got it back, and then he got it, and he kissed it and put it back in his pants. And it's fine. To the people out there that are trying to naysay WWE because their own companies are failing, and they're saying, oh, cool, good, like we've just got a bunch of goofy guys fighting over jewelry, you're willfully ignoring any form of symbolism in that case, if you think that, like, them fighting over the bracelet is just them fighting over the bracelet. Now, mind you, most of the people that are saying that are watching a company whose biggest story was two guys fought and the loser went and, like, promoted alcoholism with some jobbers for a while and then slapped a batch up his wife. Don't know what to tell you. I really, really don't. You're willfully ignoring the story if you're saying there's no story here. You're either willfully ignoring it because you just don't like that WWE is succeeding right now, and yes, I said right now because everything, it comes in peaks and troughs and all that kind of thing, or you're hardwired by your internal masters, Tony Khan and the Young Bucks, to hate anything CM Punk does, because you might not like the story. I'll have a conversation all day with somebody that doesn't like the story. But you'll tell me how much of my breath you deserve if you say there's no story here. Because you're just wrong. That's it. That's it. That's all. I wouldn't have picked Drew McIntyre for this. I wanted to see Punk versus Seth, or Punk versus Cody when he came back. I wanted to see a bigger deal made out of Drew and Jey Uso, but I don't know. As I said, that's going to go somewhere else in a different direction altogether. I hope Jey Uso gets himself back to a prominent spot after the Bloodline stuff is over, because he was just tipping over into that. But yeah, through WrestleMania, through Clash at the Castle, through Money in the Bank, through everything, through the big beatdown in Chicago, and the whole thing, while not being about the title, always kind of sort of having the shadow of the title in the background, Drew McIntyre took CM Punk out of the Rumble. Took him out at the Rumble but that took him out of the Rumble, causing him to lose, and Cody Rhodes obviously winning and going forward. And the fact that CM Punk made a point of saying, look, I'm not mad that you injured me. We're wrestlers, it's part of the game. Not even really that mad that I lost the Royal Rumble, even though it was my goal. I just hate the fact that you love that you did it. You took a title shot away from me. I'm going to make sure you don't get a title. This was, you could say, this was a number one contendership match in everything but name. Like, whoever comes out next, there is a path to the championship. Seth was just the champion. Drew McIntyre, let's not forget, was the one that technically beat Seth for that title before Damian Priest cashed in. And why was Damian Priest able to cash in? Because of CM Punk. Why was he not able to get it back? Because of CM Punk. Why was CM Punk not able to make a triumphant return in Chicago? Because of Drew McIntyre. Now, when these guys, Seth, Drew, and Punk, when they have their final fight, when the three of them have their final fight, which I'm pretty sure is going to be a triple threat match at some point. I keep going back and forth. Let me know what you think down in the box below, or hit me up on X at Spaz Phoenix. Do you want, because Bad Blood is going to be a Hell in the Cell match. They've all but said that. Do you want the Hell in the Cell match to be Punk versus Drew? Do you want it to be Punk versus Seth? Do you want it to be, I mean, it wouldn't be Seth versus Drew. Or do you want it to be a triple threat match in Hell in the Cell? Or do you want one of those matches to happen in Hell in the Cell, and later on down the line we can book that triple threat match later on? Because we know at Bad Blood they're going to do a Hell in the Cell for somebody, and it's probably going to involve CM Punk. Let's be real for a second, because as Tony Khan and the Bucks are learning the hard way, CM Punk does do numbers. It's just a fact. Just a fact. Oh, and by the way, 57,000 people is way more than what they've sold for All In so far. But let's stop picking on the little guy. Let's talk about some big guys. Look at that transition. Gunther, Damian Priest. This is the second half of the implosion of the Judgment Day. These guys beat the shit out of each other. These guys went out and had, hey, we're big guys that shouldn't be able to do this kind of stuff match. Power bombs and flips and aerial stuff from Gunther that you don't get that often. And they busted open each other's chest. Gunther had something up with his chest before he even came to the ring. I don't know what that was all about entirely. Not making fun of the guy, just making observations. But Damian Priest is a champion, and the World Heavyweight Championship is a championship. And again, if you're still going on the dated idea that neither one of those things are true, you know, Damian Priest is a placeholder, the World Heavyweight Championship is a second prize belt, blah, 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 kiss my ass at this point. I'm not even entertaining those arguments anymore, because look at what these guys did. They went in there as two big bulls and ran at each other, but they ran at each other athletically. It wasn't Big Show and Great Khali, with respect to both of those guys. This was 2024. This was this day's modern big guy match. The only thing I will say is, because Gunther got himself in such good shape and got himself a bit smaller, he doesn't present as physically intimidating as he did in NXT UK, but he's made up for that by, like, holy fuck, this dude is big, and you forget how big he is because look what he's doing. Big guys shouldn't be able to do that. Damian Priest has always been like that. Damian Priest, go back to his rivalry of matches with Finn Balor in NXT if you want to get a good idea of what we've got on the horizon. Because Finn Balor comes out when he sees his buddy in peril slapping the mat, get back in there, da-da-da-da-da. And Gunther boots Finn Balor in the face from in the ring, sticks his foot out the ring, which was kind of awesome, and boots Finn Balor, which, because they're such good friends, reinvigorates Damian Priest and gets him going. Basically, again, like somebody already fucked with his little sister, now somebody's fucking with his little brother, and he rages and whatever, and he hits the, what does he hit? I think it's a broken arrow, and then they roll too close to the ropes, and you think it's going to get broken up just because they're too close to the ropes, but no, it gets broken up by Finn Balor putting Gunther's leg on the rope. And there's, a 2 count, and then the referee sees where the leg is, and it's, oh my god, how did this happen, how did that happen? Damian Priest is, got his hands through his hair, doing the whole, like, surrender cobra thing until he sees the replay on the camera, and I'll give him credit, because he does this rage thing really, really well, where he sees the the actions of Finn Balor. Finn Balor's, he's got his back to the ring for a minute, because so I thought for a minute they were trying to sell some kind of conflict within him, like, okay, I have to do this, and then he does it. He says, oh, did I really have to do that? At the very last second, was he not looking because he didn't really want to do what he did? Is he doing it for the betterment of the Judgment Day, anything like that? And then you see his head raised, and he's got the same smirk that Dominic had on his face. And then the next time Damian Priest had, I keep wanting to say Gunther, down, he did this halfway lunge through the ropes for Finn Balor's throat, but gets pulled back in the ring by a choke by Gunther. Choke didn't work. He got himself out of it just barely. Gunther gets him up. Massive powerbomb. Second choke. He goes out. And, yeah, Gunther's your new champ, which is kind of the side story. It's really kind of unfortunate because Liv Morgan keeping the women's world title is part of the Judgment Day story. Gunther isn't part of the Judgment Day story. He's just going to pick up the belt because they're having other issues. So, because of that, his winning of the belt becomes a side story for a minute, and I thought they were going to rush the ring. I thought it was going to be a case of, out comes JD, out comes Carlito, out comes maybe even Dominic, and then there's a stare down between the four or five heel members of the Judgment Day and the two members that have just been ousted. Not that differently from how they brought in Finn Balor and ousted Edge at the beginning of the Judgment Day. And yeah, over on the other side, he's doing real good right now, isn't he? Stroke my chin very lightly. But it does mimic that in the sense, because Liv Morgan and Finn Balor are very clearly taking the respective thrones of Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. And I think that's really cool because the couple is still Dominic and Liv, but Liv is going to have Dom wrapped around her little finger, and the king and queen of the Judgment Day are going to be Finn Balor and Liv Morgan, which is only ironic because it was Finn Balor and Liv Morgan, along with AJ Styles, that initially tried to take out that first version of the Judgment Day before he ousted Edge and took his spot. So now has he unthroned two crowns of the Judgment Day to have his turn? Is it now, King Finn's turn to sit on the Iron Throne, if I can use a really horrible metaphor there? It's just done really well. And because they didn't come down and do the beatdown, they just did the fuckery. They just did nobody came out at the end. Obviously, Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan fucked off. Finn Balor kind of lingered to see the effects of what he had done, and then kind of fucked off. They could have done, like I said, the 4-on-1 beatdown on Damian and all that kind of thing. Here's my point. Here's one thing I do want to say. WWE, you need to do the thing. You need to do the one thing that you don't do that I have to give TNA credit over you. You don't do intergender wrestling. And I get why. It's a huge, controversial pit, and everybody's throwing every controversy that they can at you already. Oh my God, you can't have Logan Paul on the show anymore because he had an opinion, blah, 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 blah. You can't say anything nice about the company anymore because Vince is a bad guy. Well, Vince isn't there anymore. It doesn't matter. Vince is still a bad guy, so we're still going to use that against... You got a lot of controversies going on, is my point. And I know you don't want to delve into this, but you got to give it to us just once. Wait till you're on Netflix. Whatever you got to do, you have to give us a legitimate match between Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio. You have to do it at some point. Not right now. Don't do it on USA. Don't do it on Fox. Don't do it on CW. Wait till you're on Netflix. Wait till the fucking censors and the wokies are off your back and whatever. Just do the match. It'll be fine. Don't do it like a Sasha Reggie thing where Reggie's just out there to be a joke because he's the one with a cock. Don't do it like the Becky James Ellsworth thing where James Ellsworth is just out there to be a joke because he's the one with a cock. Let the joke be, hey, Dominic's actually trying and he dies because it's Rhea fucking Ripley. It's a different story. You can do it. You're going to Netflix. You're this close. WWE, you need to do the thing. But that being said, I think Finn Balor needs to give his tag team title to one of the other guys in the new Judgment Day, and he needs to focus on a rivalry, a proper rivalry with Damian Priest, because Finn Balor, Damian Priest could be a number one contenders match. Punk, Drew, Seth could be a number one contenders match. Whoever wins out of Damian Priest and Finn Balor faces whoever wins out of CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins. And I'm sorry, if your ultimate number one contenders match to go up against Gunther at some point is Finn Balor versus CM Punk, I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to complain about that in the slightest, because then you're going to have Priest running in to fuck over Finn. You're going to have Seth and Drew coming in to fuck over Punk. It's going to end up, because what's that? That's 5, right? That's Priest, that's Balor, that's CM Punk, that's Drew McIntyre, that's Seth Rollins, right? Throw Gunther in that mix. Throw Gunther in that mix right before WrestleMania, because that is the best booked Elimination Chamber you're ever going to see or get suggested on any of these platforms. Thank me later. Oh yes. Now, I'm going to be really unpopular here, because the main event, while it was great, while I applaud everybody involved, and while we got exactly what we were all asking for, fell a bit flat. Nothing was bad. Let me reiterate that once again. Cody did a great job with Solo, of the two of them trying to make a match happen where people were really kind of sitting on their hands waiting for other shit to happen. That's an unfortunate spot to be in. Cody elevated Solo to a certain degree. Cody was seen in the back getting a pep talk from Arn Anderson, so one more guy came back to the good side. That's fine. He told us in the press conference afterwards that this is the last time we're going to see Pharaoh, because he's getting older, so Pharaoh got his last walk in the backstage area. The conversation with Arn Anderson where he said, don't forget, you do still have friends here, some that you may know of and some that you may not know of. Eventually, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa come out. They are met by Kevin Owens and the returning Randy Orton. Sorry, I should say the returning Kevin Owens and the returning Randy Orton. They brawl into the crowd. They've been neutralized. From this point on, everybody's saying, where's Jacob Fatu? Because here's the thing. Everybody's focused on Jacob Fatu instead of Solo Sikoa, to the point where everybody else in the bloodline has a better entrance than Solo's, which is really kind of sad. Him coming out on Friday for the talk with Cody on SmackDown with his freaking Godfather jacket on is getting a bit panto, but it's still fun. Jacob Fatu comes in. He beats the shit out of Cody. It's a lot of fun. Congratulations to Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga for being the new WWE Tag Team Champions, as well, as I thought was going to happen. Side note, you know what we didn't get on SmackDown? We didn't get the typical old fill-in-the-blank, okay, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are in the match, so we give them their titles back. They lost. Or at least they didn't get those tag team titles, because the Unholy Union now has a third member in Blair Davenport. I think that's a lot of fun. That in and of itself will be a reason for me to watch SmackDown, because Isla Dawn, Alba Fire, and Blair Davenport talking about their history in the UK wrestling scene and building a trio out of that is going to be something to watch. It's not going to be the headline, it's not going to be the main event of anything, but I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be really fun, and the three of them maybe going with New Day rules, and the three of them defending those tag titles across all three brands could be a lot of fun. But yeah, congratulations to the Bloodline members, Jacob Fatu and why do I always blank on his name? Tama Tonga, because they're the new tag team champions. While they left as tag team champions, they put both belts over Solo's shoulder because he's their tribal chief. Or is he? Jacob Fatu goes to splash Cody Rhodes through a table and either fucks up his leg or does the best sell job we've seen this year, because he grabs his leg immediately after this splash. He tries to stand up on it, and it doesn't work so much that he pisses himself off and starts throwing chairs around. Not at anybody, just grabbing shit and throwing it. And we never see him again until after the match is over. But what do we get? This, that, the next. Cody Rhodes, Crossroads, whatever, he's not quite getting the job done. Finally, you hear Roman Reigns' music. He comes down. he does the Superman punch and the spear, and he gives a little bit of a nod to Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes hits another crossroad, gets the win, and he taps 3 fingers on the title, which a lot of people are taking to mean that he and Roman at some point are going to have a round 3, which is absolutely fine. It's the most... How do I say this? As I say, everybody did exactly what they were going to do. Everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do. Really hoping Jacob Fatu doesn't have like a broken leg or something like that, because that would really suck. Roman Reigns coming back is huge, but it's kind of what I thought was going to happen thing that happened on this show. So much as it's very cool, much as it's a big building block in the story, as much as Solo Sikoa taking on Cody Rhodes was just a platform for the return of Roman Reigns, everybody did what they were supposed to do, everybody filled their roles, etc., which is a really, really diminutive way for me to talk about it. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. Something about this made it fall a bit flat. And it could be because that there's other stories that I was watching on this show that I am more invested in than this at the current moment. Cody Rhodes is proving himself to be the new John Cena, which is awesome in a lot of ways, but there are 1 or 2 ways where it's not so great. With John Cena, where he would go into a match and he'd say, well, yeah, there's going to be a lot of bullshit, and I can't wait to see what happens, but he's going to win. Cody Rhodes is dangerously close to that, through no fault of his own. Him and Roman Reigns coming together for a 3rd time seems like it's inevitable. Them being on the same page first to get rid of the new imposter bloodline also seems like it's kind of inevitable. You're going to get Jay in there, you're going to get Jimmy in there, maybe Sammy, maybe KO, Roman, Cody, all working on the same page when they were all trying to destroy each other less than a year ago. It will be the overplayed cliche of, oh my god, can they coexist, to the 10th level. And we all know that that's coming. But because we all know that it's coming, it was awesome, but I knew exactly what was going to happen, and there it is. It's happening in front of me. That's what I thought was going to happen, and the show's over. I don't know, because nothing bad, other than potentially Jacob getting injured. Nothing bad, nothing wrong with the match. I thought, in the most respectful way possible, Cody carried Solo to the best match that they were going to have between the two of them. Before the nonsense got involved, the brawling from the Guerrillas of Destiny and Owens and Randy Orton was fine. It happened quickly. It got out of the way quickly, clearly showing that the next big star in this subgroup is Jacob Fatu, not necessarily Solo Sikoa, which I don't know if that's what they're going for, but that's what they're giving us. It's really good. It's really fun. Roman Reigns is back, and Roman Reigns is a huge entity, whether you want it to be or not. Roman Reigns has turned babyface in his own absence. So he hasn't been there since he was fighting Cody Rhodes, since he was in front of that Philadelphia crowd that wanted nothing more than for Cody to bring his head on a platter, and then he disappeared. And in the time that he's been gone, the crowd has decided he's a babyface now. That's kind of awesome, not gonna lie. But we don't know where it goes. We don't know how much are they gonna waste time and play with the whole, I don't know, Cody, we're on the same side right now, but can I really trust you? You know, this and that and the next. When do we get the reintroduction of Paul Heyman? That's another question that a lot of people are asking. But I'm not gonna lie. As much as the Roman return, the Cody thing is great, as much as the whole Punk story is really great, and I'm really happy for CM Punk. I'm happy to have him back on our team. Yes, I know that makes me sound biased, but it is what it is. CM Punk is involved in the biggest thing of the night. CM Punk, even though we got the Roman return at the end of this match, I could still see a justification for putting the Punk match last, because that's how big I think the Punk return singles match is. All that being said, when we turn on Raw tomorrow night / tonight when you guys are listening to this, I'm sorry, but the first thing I want to see on Monday Night Raw is the final implosion of the Judgment Day, or at least the re-crowning, the re-christening of, Judgment Day 3.0. because we had the Edge version, then we had the Damian Priest and Rhea version, now we've got this Liv, Finn, JD, Dom, Carlito version. So it is the third iteration of the Judgment Day. I want to see that more. I really do. Save CM Punk till the end of the night. Save him to the mid-show main event, whatever you want to call it. The first hour, the second hour, whatever the case may be. They've got a lot to play with. They've got Braun Breaker as a new Intercontinental Champion, and what that entire division is going to look like now. I don't like why it happened, but LA Knight as the U.S. champion probably has two contenders already set up for him in Andrade, Carmelo, possibly Santos as well, except I don't know how that's going to work exactly. But, yeah, Punk Drew Seth set a quick line to Bad Blood. I don't know what any of them do at Bash in Berlin. Set up your opponent for Gunther for Bash in Berlin tomorrow night on Raw. Do it. Let us get happy about it. We know they're going to be, like, fed to the wolves, essentially. Sami Zayn, compensating for losing the Intercontinental Championship, could go after the guy he beat for the Intercontinental Championship, who now has the world title, and say, hey, last time you had a title, I'm the one that beat you for it. Doesn't that make me the number one contender? Sami Zayn versus Gunther in Berlin? Or do we get the match that everybody's been talking about since they did it in the BT Sports Studio during COVID in front of no fans? Do we get Gunther and Ilya Dragunov? Because I'll just watch the fuck out of that. Not going to lie. We already have temporarily rumored in the pipeline, there's a rumor that we are getting some sort of hardcore match between Sheamus and Pete Dunne in Berlin. Is it just going to be the pay-per-view that has, like, everybody gets punched in the face matches? Is that going to be a thing? Do we get a street fight with Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair, or not Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley? Do we get, I don't know what we get. I don't know who Cody faces at Bash in Berlin. I really don't. The other thing I was going to say, and I don't know whether it'll happen at Bash in Berlin, because I want the Punk thing to go in the Seth direction, does Drew McIntyre now treat what happened this weekend as a number one contenders match, and does Drew go after Gunther? Because they're both heels, but they're very different types of heels. There's a lot of stuff that we could do. Oh, also, didn't mention it. It was a lot of fun. Miz hosting the show wasn't very intrusive whatsoever. Came out just before the main event with R-Truth to announce their record-breaking, ridiculous attendance, which I'm sure made all the right people angry. Was interrupted by A-Town Down Under, and I think it was Austin Theory. Austin Theory got a gigantic choke slam from Jelly Roll, which was really funny because they made fun of Jelly Roll and MGK's music because they were sitting together in the front row. The breakup of A-Town Down Under is still on the horizon as well. What are we doing here? There's a lot. The Judgment Day took over 2 segments of this pay-per-view, so you gotta believe that that's gonna be the big thing going forward. Maybe tied with what's gonna happen with the Bloodline next, and the CM Punk thing right now. And it's funny, because I don't know what I consider CM Punk and Cody Rhodes to be the 2 main characters of WWE right now, and when I line up what the immediate next stories are, I don't even know what Cody's doing. Lots and lots of stuff. Punk finally spoke on the Jungle Boy footage thing, which is, it is what it is. Punk helping Shawn Michaels with NXT, helping him out with the WWE tryouts in Cleveland, is a really, really good thing in the right direction. Hardys, maybe potentially coming back to WWE, maybe being NXT tag champions, just makes me smile. Everybody involved in the Britt Baker, MJF, Alicia Atu situation, I hope they're doing okay. I've seen the spoilers for TNA for the next couple of weeks. There's a lot more NXT TNA crossover coming our way, which you guys know that's one of my favorite things going on right now. This was a hell of a card. I think it was a lot of fun. I think everything they did hit. I said the main event only fell slightly flat, and that's the only real bad thing I have to say about the show. Other than the United States Championship match, which obviously that result was decided because of outside bullshit. You guys know how I feel about it when things are decided by outside bullshit, so I'm kind of putting that on the shelf over here and separating it out from the rest of the card. Thought the card was great. Thought the SmackDown before was great as well. I've rambled for quite long enough. I've been rambling for 1 hour and 10 minutes, apparently. thank you for putting up with me and my very sick-sounding voice and me sneezing in your ears at the beginning of the show there. I don't know what else there is to talk about. Put it down in the box below. Before we get into Monday Night Raw tomorrow night, what are you looking forward to on Raw? What are you looking forward to for Night 2 of the Great American Bash? And what are you looking forward to this coming Friday? All stemming from what I see to be a really fucking fantastic and successful SummerSlam. That's it. I'm losing my voice. It's definitely time for me to stop talking now. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out.